The Overstood Human Podcast. Unfiltered dialogue, real solutions, no labels. The Overstood Human Podcast exists to inspire people to live with strength, freedom, and a purpose in a world full of noise and division. We champion a life anchored in true health, strong family, personal sovereignty, and self-discovery, inspiring our listeners to thrive beyond the confines of the design system. Our mission is to inspire you to break free from mediocrity, think independently, and live a life of meaning, resilience, and impact. Hello, I'm Frank Tortorici.
And I am
Sarah Green.
And this is the Overstood Human Podcast. So Frank, we've talked a lot about what I do in my practice and kind of the new and exciting things, but we haven't really dove into what you do for work and the patients or the clients, I guess, that you help. So give me a little breakdown of what you do, and we can dive into this further, what you offer clients. I always say patients, but clients, and then how you work with them if they're not local and they're out of state.
Right. Yeah. Well, I developed a passion for health at a very, very young age. When I was 8 years old, I was vaccine injured, for anyone that is not familiar with my backstory. And that just led me down a whole path of committing my life now at 47 to, these last, 35, 36 years of just really being passionate about holistic health and trying to understand things that you can do to allow your body to work for you, not against you. Hence the my company name is Fit Over Pharma, and it's really based on like these 8 pillars of health that I really try to follow, that I live by, and that I think everyone can benefit. Maybe if not from all of them, but some of them. And I think it's awesome to be able to speak about this with you because I love to. Again, I'm not a medical professional, so I think it's really cool to have a medical professional weigh in on these modalities and these ways of living, because I hear that so many times. Oh, well, it's, where's the science behind that? And you're not a doctor. And so yeah, so it'd be really cool to kind of run through these philosophies and really get your take on it as well, for people to hear that from your vantage point with your background and with your training. So I guess really we can kind of just introduce the 8 pillars of health. And they're pretty basic, I believe, because they've been around for eons. There's nothing cutting edge or nothing new that I'm about or trying to help people to acclimate to in their way of life. So the 8 pillars, I guess if we could just run through them really quick, Tim, if you have that. So those are my 8 pillars. That's what I really try to focus on. That's my checklist of every day for myself and what I run through with people that I work with on a daily basis. So as you can see, we have faith, fasting, cold exposure, resistance training, quality food intake, sun exposure, supplementation, and sleep. And what I've found is all of those bullet points really help to bring the body to a place of balance, the mind, the body, and the soul, and then that really is the ultimate goal, right? I mean, I think, Sarah, when you see a patient that comes in to work with you, if you had to summarize sickness, is it safe to say that sickness is like there's an imbalance in that person's body?
Oh, absolutely. And like all of those, all of those 8 pillars for sure.
Yep. Yeah. So that's my main goal, is like, I want to try to help people to live fit over pharma, and and that is the ultimate goal. So it always starts with faith, right? I think so many people, and you've touched on this too. I think we're both pretty I guess determined is the word, to incorporate faith into our work. And I think you've touched on that even in one of our last episodes of what you're doing with the Cancer Treatment Center, of how the epicenter of that is faith, right? And that's what I start with people too. I have to see where they're at with faith, because as we know, when we lack faith, we lack that. Faith is what gives us that drive to move forward, right? It's that ability to weather the storm, walk through the storm, to know that the reason why you're doing what you're doing, uh, it's the whole walk by faith, not by sight philosophy. And without faith, a
Mhm.
person, in my eyes, is destined for illness and sickness at some point, because we can do all of the right things. We can follow all those other 7 pillars out of the 8, but if the faith is lacking, there's something missing internally for a person. There's a constant level of stress that is ignited within a person that lacks faith, that they may not even be aware of, that's producing chemicals of cortisol and acidity through your body. When you walk by faith, there's a level of knowingness. There's an unspoken, uh, constant vibration of calmness, because you know that you're taken care of no matter what.
Mhm.
So I really try to drive that message home first and foremost. Everyone's caught up in what they need to do, and the greatest thing that they overlook is they need to learn how to just sit and be still for a second and be with him, and know what it's like to, peace, be still, and know that I am
Mhm.
God in the midst of you, right? Like we lose that because we're so caught in the doing of our lives, and when it comes to our health, right? I mean, it's all about, what can I take? What can I do? The biggest thing that you can do is learn how to incorporate faith into your life. And you know, I try not to force that onto people, but I also know that it's the foundation, right? I always use that analogy. You can't build a house without pouring the foundation. So all these pillars of health that I advocate, those pillars are not going to stand without that foundation, and it's an unbreakable foundation. And I know you see that in your line of work too. I mean, what if you can touch on that as well? What type of miracles have you seen through faith in your line of work for patients that are able to embody it versus the ones that, oh, do you ever see people that just can't embody faith? They just can't wrap their head around it. They're lost in that translate in that mix. Like, what do you see with that?
I do, and I think that anyone who's diagnosed with cancer, which is the vast majority of what I'm seeing right now, they go through those stages of grief and denial, and a lot of them, I think, get very angry with God.
Hmm.
And I understand. I mean, I've got pediatric patients, and I know some of the parents. I mean, it's they're angry. Why me? What did I do, and how do I fix this? And there's a lot of blaming, I guess. And I always let my patients know God is a God of perfection. He's a God of um, everything perfect. So he didn't allow someone to get cancer. You got to look at what the devil is doing. And I'm not saying that the devil is the one to blame. There's all kinds of different factors going on in our society and around us, and
Hmm.
food and air and water and vaccines, and you name it. There's so many different avenues as to why someone develops cancer, but they do get very angry with God, and you have to, all things for his glory. So the power of prayer is huge, and I think that people maybe forget that sometimes. But who else do you know is always available any time of day, no matter what, that you can call up, and he's there waiting. He's waiting for you to reach out to him. So maybe the reason I'm in my line of work is because I can also minister to people truly who Jesus is, and
Hmm.
whether they accept it or not, and I think a lot of people come to me and want help from me because of their faith with him and their belief in him as well. And so most of my patients, we align that way, but still, it doesn't mean you don't get angry with them sometimes or
Sure.
question the path that you're going on. But all things for his glory, and our life here is short, you know? I mean, we all are guaranteed death, and so when
Yeah.
that takes place, no one knows, only God does.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I even if they're not a believer, I'll keep talking. I'll
Yeah.
keep planting the seed.
Yeah. And I think it's important too to always remember that what seems as a setback is sometimes a setup for something
Mhm.
greater in your life. When I look back at the time of my vaccine injury, being diagnosed with Tourette syndrome, if it wasn't for that, I don't know what the probability is of me sitting here with you doing this podcast.
Mhm.
Like that was um, a tough thing in my life, and it still is, living with it till this day. But it's also what lit that fire and that passion to be sitting here. So if anyone going through something right now, that's where, sometimes we're not supposed to understand everything of why
Mhm.
he does what he does, right? We're supposed to trust it, but not we're never going to fully understand it or overstand it. That's not for us to know. um,
Mhm.
what we need to know is that I look at it like all the trials and tribulations are like spiritual resistance training, in a sense. Like that's where and how you grow, right? Like we see
Yeah.
the muscle tissue develop when we lift heavy things, while our spirit develops when we're able to persevere through challenging things. And
Mhm.
and that's, again, faith is the underlying issue with that. You can't go through things like that with that knowingness if you don't have faith. It's hard to. So it's a key core of any health or healing attempt at anyone's life, for sure.
Mhm.
It's something that's non-negotiable for me, and I think you agree with that, based off of what I
Absolutely.
hear you say.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So the next thing that I am a huge advocate of is fasting.
Mhm.
And fasting over the last, I'd say, 5 to 10 years, it's definitely become a popular thing. And it drives me crazy when I hear people call it a fad, uh, because, I mean, how many times is fasting mentioned in the Bible?
Yeah.
Uh, Quite a bit. You look at Hippocrates, the founding father of medicine in ancient Greece, was advocating fasting. So there's no fad when it comes to fasting. Fasting is how we evolved, right? I mean, hunters and gatherers, right? They weren't
Mhm.
snacking every 2 hours,
Mm.
you know. Um, they were fasting just because that's what they had to do. That's how we evolved as humans. Uh, so I love fasting because it ties into the faith essence too, right? It's such a spiritual thing. Um, and we've touched on this before, and it enables you to become so much clearer in your thinking and in your mind and your spirit. You feel lighter. Um, and there's so many scientific benefits to fasting too that maybe, Sarah, you can go into a little bit. But for me, um, I love the fact that you can get more done throughout your day. You're not,
Mhm.
you're constantly looking for your next meal. You can definitely be a lot more productive. I've seen so many people go through, reporting that back to me, just their levels of energy. When you're not constantly digesting food, guess what? You're gonna have more energy, right?
Yeah.
When you're not constantly digesting food, guess what? What is a big fad is all cleanse, detox. Everyone wants to cleanse and detox, and the ultimate way to cleanse and detox is to fast, right? It's
Mhm.
it's 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 the ultimate. Your body is a miraculous piece of machinery, and when, like I said before, when you give it the things and the tools that it needs to thrive, it can perform miracles. It's designed to do that. We're sitting here
Mhm.
right now, and think of how many organs are functioning in our bodies right now, and we don't have to do anything about it. It's just they're working. But then if we
Right.
can assist in how they work and not deteriorate how they work and work against them, but work for them, then it becomes this beautiful synergistic thing that you create for your body as a whole. um,
Mhm.
so fasting is a spiritual thing. it's again, and Sarah, I'd love for you to like kind of piggyback off of this if you can, but to my knowledge and through my studies as a functional diagnostic nutritionist, fasting is going to help stimulate hormone production, testosterone, human growth hormone. It helps repair the gut microbiome. When we go long periods of time without food in the lower intestine, our body produces its own GLP-1 peptides, which
Mhm.
then helps with hunger. There's autophagy, which is anti-aging. There's starving glucose out of the cells, which then becomes a little bit more in the anti-cancerous type of conversation of lessening
Mhm.
glucose in our body. Um, Weight loss, muscle tissue. Everybody thinks you're fasting, you're going to lose muscle. It's actually the complete opposite. It just, it comes down to one of the later pillars, though, of the food quality, and we'll get into that. So those are all the things that I just completely love the concept of fasting for. Um,
Mhm.
it's the best bang for your buck in a sense when you talk healing, longevity, fitness, spirituality. Like it covers all grounds when it comes to your overall health. So that's why I advocate and try to coach people on fasting. Again, this is not something that you want to dive headfirst into with fasting. There is a conditioning process that needs to take place to condition
Mhm.
your body to be able to do it safely, and
Yeah.
depending on where you're at. And those are all the things that I coach people with, because you can't go from 0 to 100 when it comes to fasting. I will always tell people that, you know. Um, so yeah. So is there anything, I guess, scientifically that you can add to that, or maybe that I said incorrectly? Because I know sometimes people will come at me with that. So I'd love to hear your take on fasting.
Yeah, no, I think it's vital. We don't do enough of it, and you're right, like, whoever decided that breakfast was the most important meal of the day, all the people that run big pharma and insurance
Hmm.
companies. So our bodies are made to detox, and they can't detox when it's breaking down food. So senescent cells are cells that basically are kind of done with their purpose, but not your body's not killing them, and they can start causing inflammation and wreaking havoc. So the only way to really get rid of cells that are serving no purpose whatsoever or actually harmful is through fasting. So I eat one meal a day. I don't typically consume more than that. It's a decent meal. But I feel sharper. I have more energy. I'm more motivated. I can get way more done when I'm in a state of fasting versus when I've eaten something. So everything slows down once I eat. So I'm a huge fan of it, and I encourage my patients to do it, especially those that are fighting cancer. It really is. Um, it's going to help the body. It's going to restart, get your body back into homeostasis, which is super important.
Mm. And what's your take, Sarah? Because I get this question thrown at me, and my take on it, a lot of women claim that it messes with their hormones, their cycle. Um, I've always kind of come from the background that if you're not eating properly when you're feeding, getting those fats, getting those proteins in to nurture the cholesterol, the hormones, um, that's always been kind of my slant on that for women. But what do you know about that, or what have you experienced with yourself as a female with fasting? Have you experienced anything like that? Like, what do you see with that?
No, and I think to put everyone in one category is not fair. So are
Hmm.
there some that it's not good for them to fast? Probably. Can it raise cortisol? Probably, but you're right. I mean, you have to look at what they're actually eating during their when they
Hmm.
break their fast. That's vital.
Mm.
It would what a waste if you break your fast and by eating a donut. It's like what's the point, So if you're going to go through that and actually detox your cells, then
Mm.
break your fast with something healthy, high protein, high fat. Don't don't go and eat some big old carbohydrate meal. There's no point.
Right.
So I think for the majority of people, it's really good, and you don't have to fast for an extended period of time. I mean, if you do a 24-hour fast a couple times a month, we're not That's huge. That's super important for the body. So
Right.
I think for most people, women included, fasting is a good thing.
Yep.
Is there an exception to the rule? Always.
Yep. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I agree with that. So the next one, this is controversial for a lot of people, and it's the whole deliberate cold exposure. And again, people call this a fad,
Yeah.
but this practice has been used. I go back to ancient Greece again. Hippocrates was using this for people for their immune system and for inflammation in their body.
Hmm.
So there's again, these are like ancient practices that are just being rediscovered. And again, this is why I believe like a lot of the naysayers of practices like this are just paid trolls online from pharmaceutical companies, from the medical institution, because
Hmm.
these are ancient practices. To me, this is how you live a life that's fit over pharma. And I always come from the school of thinking too. I feel like fasting and cold exposure get lumped into that category because these are two things that the average person just doesn't have the willpower, discipline to even attempt to try. And
Hmm.
they and little do they know that they have it in them, but they close down immediately because it's something so uncomfortable that they're quite okay with finding something wrong with it to talk themselves out of the out of the reason why they shouldn't be doing it. um
Hmm.
so I think, I love cold exposure for many reasons, and I'm not opposed to heat exposure, extreme heat, like infrared saunas, things of that from
Hmm.
that end of the spectrum either. I think both extremes um, have healing principles of detoxification. But the again, the one that I really abide by is the cold exposure. Now, from a mental standpoint, what I love about cold exposure, and this is one thing that I train clients with, when you experience that shiver response in your body. Now that's going to be different for everybody. I always tell people you should start with cold showers before you even attempt an ice bath. So you start with a cold shower, and then what I will say is like get the water so hot. Shower yourself, wash yourself, soap, shampoo, whatever. Do it as hot as you can possibly stand. Then, when you're ready, just stand under it and start slowly turning that dial from, lukewarm to cool to cold, right? And once it hits that cold, cold point where you feel like you're starting to get shiver response, that's when you know like you've hit your max capacity for where you're at right now. All we're looking for is that shiver response. Because when we hit that shiver response, that's when a lot of the brown fat becomes activated. And when that brown fat becomes activated, that's when the metabolism kicks in and you start falling into more of this thermogenic process, right?
Hmm.
So and then there's other things too. I mean, there's a company that I think when it comes to ice baths is the Rolls Royce of ice baths. They're called Morosco Forge, um, and we should get him on here too one time. Dr. Tom
Hmm.
Seeger, he's the PhD behind the company, and he does a lot of studies with cold exposure, and I follow his work. And there's been studies done with men's prostate health, with cold actually helping to starve glucose out of the cells. I mean, your body goes through this fight or flight. Of course, you're going to get a cortisol spike with the cold, but it also, what it trains you to do is when you're deliberately exposing yourself to this on, say, a 3 to 4 day a week basis, now when life starts to throw stressful situations at you, your body intuitively knows better how to adapt to those situations from that
Hmm.
standpoint. And the coolest thing that I've always experienced with myself when I started practicing this about 9 years ago, I'd say, like as like on a daily basis. And the one thing that I've found with myself and that I'll hear from clients once they're open to it is that you'll see, say you get a phone call or there's a stressful day at work and you're immediately processing that information. What's the body's natural reaction when you get, say, like a bad piece of information? What? Like you start getting that shortness of breath, you start processing, your heart starts beating a little bit faster, you start sweating. Um, and that's that's what the cold teaches you. I always use the analogy. The cold for me and for clients is like what Mr. Miyagi was to the Karate Kid, in that
Mhm.
sense of it's a teacher. When you get into, like, for me, I hate doing ice baths, but I love the way it makes me feel. But there's never a
Sure.
day that when I know that I have to do it, that I'm never looking forward to an ice bath. I hate it.
Sure.
Like, I hate it. I
Sure.
get anxiety every time before I think of having to go into it. It's not fun,
Yeah.
right? But
Yeah.
it's that whole concept of discipline, doing what you hate to do, but do it like you love it, right?
Sure.
And now it's training the mind. And then when you sit into that ice bath, now again, when it comes to the cold exposure too, a lot of the science shows that 40 to 50 degree temperature is sufficient enough for people.
Mhm.
Again, as long as you're getting that shiver response, that's where the magic starts happening with the nervous system, with the brown fat, with your immune system. But what I found, I'm a little bit of an extremist when it comes to things. Sorry. I mean, that's just my nature. um, I need my ice bath set at, like, I have it at 32, 33 degrees. I have a
Oh my
Morosco
goodness.
Forge, and
Yeah.
I need to see chunks of ice in there. Like, I want that challenge, you know?
Sure.
I hate it, but what I found because there's a lot of cold plunges out on the market, right? But
Mhm.
cold plunges are going to be that 40 to 50 degrees. What I found is, as you start practicing it, eventually that cold plunge is going to become, it's challenging, but it's not like what I experience every day going into 32, 33 degrees every time I do it, right? So
Mhm.
there's the mental aspect. And then when you sit in it, it's all about your breathing. And this is what I
Yeah.
say, it's like Mr. Miyagi was to the Karate Kid, the cold exposure, because life is going to get stressful at some point for all of us throughout our day, throughout our week, throughout our month, throughout our year. And when stress hits you, if you learn how to train your brain with the cold teachers, like your subconscious mind, when you go to sit into this water and you lower yourself, you have to kind of like de-stress the body. And then the breath has to come in real gentle, but long and slow out. And what you'll find is that when life gets stressful, you start realizing that your body, your brain's like, oh, stress, rather than, oh my
Mhm.
God, how am I going to do this? Like, I don't, there's not enough time in the day. Like how, there's a part of the brain that becomes activated. It's like, stress, I know how to deal with this now.
Sure.
So, we and this is like this whole fit over pharma concept, is like, we can't expect to conquer our lives, because our lives are always going to have ups and downs. But if we can, my theory is that if we can train ourselves for the downs, then when the downs happen, they're not going to kick our ass as bad as they would if we're just a couch potato, just going through life like as if like all is good and there's never going to be any challenges. We want to
Right.
be we want to be battle ready, in a sense, right? And that's
Mhm.
what I find, that all these eight pillars really are trying, or are there designed to attack and conquer. So,
Mhm.
saying all that, I'd love to hear from your medical background a little bit of what you know of cold exposure, or what your experience is with it, just for people to hear your point of view on that.
Yeah, I think that I truly believe there's benefit. You have to be able to tolerate it. I have done it.
Mhm.
I've experienced it. It's not my favorite thing to do. I don't do it often. But I know there's tons of benefit, and it's
Mhm.
even 3 to 4 minutes is all you really need.
Yeah.
You don't have to go extended periods of time, 5, 10 minutes. So yeah, I know there's huge benefit. I'm a fan, but I'm not a fan with myself. So I get it. Like the
Me
anxiety, if I
neither.
had to do that every day, I'd stare at the ice. Like
Me neither.
I don't like it being less than 60 degrees outside. So getting
No,
purposefully getting into something super cold to
it's
stress my
horrible.
body out, because that's really what it does. I mean, it's going to shut down blood supply to your distal extremities, and it's going to keep the core, your organs,
Mhm.
oxygenated. And so
Yeah.
it's you know I mean, I guess I've got a pretty cold ocean right here,
Yeah.
and I hate even putting my feet in it because it's so cold. So it's
Yeah.
submerging your body in it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
No.
no, I think there's huge benefit. Absolutely.
Yeah. And believe it or not, through this doctor at Morosco Forge, with the studies they've done, they've actually, and this is how I practice it, I do it pre-workout. So
Mhm.
again, as a person with Tourette's, I can't consume any caffeine, any pre-workout things. I can't have that with my nervous system. But what they're finding is that people are experiencing through the data actual testosterone boosting when you do it pre-workout. When you do it post-workout, I mean, ice baths have been used from pro athletes for God knows how long, for recovery, for inflammation. But when you're talking muscle tissue and muscle density, they're finding that you should not get into an ice bath post-workout a good like 5 to 6 hours after the workout until your body has
Mm.
fully kind of come down. But as a
Mhm.
pre-workout, I can't. There's days I'll try to do it without it as a pre-workout, and it's like it's literally a night and day difference, the type of energy and endurance that you feel in your muscle tissue when you experience this from as a pre-workout practice. It's amazing. So again,
Hmm.
these are all the things that like I really not all these eight pillars are for everybody, but these are all
Mhm.
of these eight pillars. I think everyone should at least try and see
Mhm.
how it works for their body. Um, and then that segues into the resistance training. And I know we've touched on this before in
Yeah.
some of our episodes, right?
Yeah.
Um, resistance training. I mean, again, at the core of everything that I believe in and do, it all comes down to hormone health. And the optimal form of exercise that anyone can do for hormone health is resistance training. Uh, in the present moment, depending on how old you are, as we age, I always say it's like depositing money into a bank for your future. Because as
Mhm.
we age, muscle tissue is going to deteriorate along with our
Mhm.
hormones. So it is the it's the holy grail of physical activity for longevity, anti-aging, hormone health is
Mhm.
resistance training. And it's just something that's been a part of my life since I was 13 years old.
Mhm.
And it's just it's a way of life. I mean, we've touched on this before, of just the meditative state that we go into when we exercise, when it's just
Mhm.
you with like your headphones on and just listening to praise music or whatever you're listening to. It's this whole experience, right? That your
Yeah.
mind gets to endure as well as your body. But we want to build our muscle tissue because we want to have better bone density as we age. Everyone that looks at resistance training thinks of it just for the aesthetic point of it, but it's so much more.
Mhm.
People who do resistance training have better levels of they sleep better, they have better hormone health, better bone density,
Mhm.
increased sex drive. I mean, again, everything related to hormone health, resistance
Mhm.
training is the holy grail.
Yeah.
Um, what say you on that, Sarah?
I agree 100%. I tell my patients all the time, cardiovascular is okay, right? Get your heart pumping, but
Hmm.
you're going to build more muscle, you're going to protect your heart, your mind. It is the anti-aging exercise is resistance training, and you don't need anything special. You can use your own body weight, but it's critical to keep muscle mass on. Critical.
Hmm. And how
Yeah.
critical is it for your patients that are actually fighting cancer, would you say?
Oh, it's one of the things that I talk about, just like nutrition.
Mm,
So it is just as important as nutrition, is just as important as grounding and meditation and prayer work.
mhm,
You can't do one without the other, and you see as people get older, you use it or lose it. And so if you
uh,
don't, and it's never too late to start, but if you don't start doing some sort of even bands, I mean, it doesn't
mhm,
have to be anything
yep,
crazy. You don't need to spend thousands of dollars to build a home gym. It could be something very simple.
mhm,
And I look forward to my weightlifting days way more than I look forward to my cardiovascular running days. Absolutely.
mm,
I feel better when I get out of there.
yeah,
My energy is much better. My mental state is much better. So my weightlifting days are I truly enjoy those much more so than any kind of cardio day.
mm. Yeah, likewise. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of cardio, but I love resistance training. I love the feeling that you get, and in the aftermath, it's again, it's something that I think is just non-negotiable for anybody interested in health, wellness, and longevity. Resistance training
Hmm.
is a non-negotiable. As I said, out of these
Hmm.
8 pillars, some things are not for everybody, but that's one of them that for sure has
Hmm.
to be for everybody at some level. And to your point, it's not that you need to have a full blown gym, that you need to be lifting heavy weights. You need to master your body weight. Um,
Yeah.
and I always say too, resistance training is all about angles. And what I mean by that is, if you don't know what you're doing, make sure that you have somebody helping you, because your form is everything, right? Like
Hmm.
the you can build imperfections when you're doing resistance training if you're doing it incorrectly, which can lead to joint issues and injuries and things like that down the road.
Sure.
So you really, here's like a great example, a simple one, because I'm sitting here. Think of like just a simple bicep curl, right? Most
Hmm.
people, when they do bicep curls, their arms are swinging, their trap muscles are becoming activated, and then before
Hmm.
you know it, over due time, you start seeing people where they're just standing and their posture is just kind of here more now, because they become
Hmm.
so shoulder dominant. Most people have office jobs. They're sitting down at a desk at a computer all day. And what are they doing? Typing, and they don't
Hmm.
realize it. I see with a lot of female clients, they have their purse. Women, you carry a lot of stuff in your purse, some of you. So like, there's some of them are imbalanced here because they're always carrying here.
Sure.
So you want to build like it's like an artist, it's carving a statue.
Hmm.
Like the form is crucial for your posture, because if your posture is
Yeah.
good, you have that navel to spine. Now your abs, your core is engaged. Now you take a lot of tension off your lower back. That means you're going to
Hmm.
decrease your risk of getting degenerative discs in your lower back, hip issues, joint pains. Like so it all it's not just a matter of, oh, I worked out today. No, like, how effective did you do it? Was the form proper? Did you attack that muscle aggressively smart? There's so many ways of doing it. But safety and form are crucial when it comes to that, because again,
Absolutely.
a lot of good can happen, but also a lot of negative stuff can happen too,
Hmm.
right?
Yep.
um and then obviously this other, the number 5 is one that's another non-negotiable, and that's the
Hmm.
quality of the food that we eat,
Yeah.
right? And anyone who's listened to any of our previous episodes know that we definitely beat the dead horse, if you will, on that one. I mean, we that's something that Sarah and I drive home constantly, and anyone that works with Sarah or has worked with me knows that
Hmm.
that's something that's,
Hmm.
again, a non-negotiable topic
Yeah.
here. Like this
Yeah.
you are what you eat, right?
100%.
I mean,
100%.
do you see, Sarah, like people who, have you ever worked with somebody who's maybe going through like your protocol of treatment, but not adhering to the food side of it, but yet they're just taking the treatment itself? And if so, how
Yeah.
does that compare to the ones that are listening to you 100%, to the ones that are just coming for their treatments?
Oh, it makes a big difference. And they labs don't lie. So when I get a set of labs on someone and they're like, "No, I've been eating really clean and I've been taking my supplements," I'm like, No, you haven't,
Mm,
because your labs aren't lying. Your insulin
right.
resistance is through the roof. Whatever. So, oh, well, maybe so it makes a big difference. And I think once you start, like, you get the fasting in, right? You eat clean, you start cleaning up the inflammation in your body to the point where you feel good. I mean, I think people that eat crap feel so crappy that they don't know what it feels like to feel good, and so they don't know the difference. And so that becomes normal for them and they accept it. And so when you start cleaning up your diet and you eat healthy, you'll feel a huge difference. And then if you do end up eating something that is not what you would typically eat because you've changed your ways, you feel it and it's
Hmm.
not fun. And so I
Hmm.
always encourage my patients to get to the point that they feel so good that when they go out for something and they end up eating a dessert or whatever, that they actually can feel the inflammation taking place because
Mm,
it will stop them from doing it. But we we as a society, not you and I, because
mhm.
we used to
Yeah.
live in a state of chronic inflammation,
Mhm,
and we've accepted feeling unwell to the point that that's normal and we don't know any different. And so once you can detox and get rid of that inflammation and you start feeling better, then you actually are more in tune with what certain foods do to your body. And so that's my goal always for my patients, is to get to the point, like, we're not perfect. Nobody's perfect, right? So you're never going to stick to a perfect diet. Everybody's going to have a cheat day. You're going to have whatever. But I want it to be that when you do that, you actually feel the negative effects from it to the
mhm,
point that you actually don't want to do it again, or
mhm.
you will think twice about it. And so that's where I'm at. Like, someone brings a
Yeah,
dessert to me, there's no temptation for me, and
yeah.
it's not because I don't enjoy those things. I know what it's gonna make how it's gonna make me feel that night, the next day. If I eat something that's super sugary, like, I'm not gonna sleep well.
Yeah.
So I don't it's not worth it for me, but that hasn't always been where I was at. I mean,
Sure.
I've been, fitness and health conscious for a very long time, but that doesn't mean that my body wasn't in a state where I could feel a difference if I ate. My favorite dessert is creme brulee, so I don't eat it often.
Mhm.
And sometimes when I eat it, it's not worth it. It's like, that was not worth it. So I have to
Yeah.
remember that. But I'm getting to the point where you actually feel so good that you don't want to go back to feeling so bad.
Yeah. And you notice too, I mean, do you ever, when you do have that every now and then, I'm sure you notice too, because your taste buds change, right? I mean, like when you go
Mhm.
back to something like that, you may even be like, oh my God, that's so sweet. Like, whoa, like, I mean, it's good, but
Mhm.
like, whoa, damn, like that's intense,
Yeah.
right? I
Yeah.
mean,
I can't eat the whole thing, that's for sure. So,
yeah, yeah.
mm-mm.
And that's what, that's again a big thing that I try to drive home to people is your body's only going to crave what it knows. Food is a drug. It's either going to, build you up or tear you down. And
Mhm.
you will crave only what you know.
Mhm.
And that's what I know that I've gotten somebody over the hump when they're in an environment of exactly what you just described, when they can go there in their head, like, well, if I eat that, I know I'm going to feel like this, or I'm going, nah,
Mhm.
I'm not going to do it. Or,
Yeah.
I can acknowledge, like, if I remember, like, when I used to live in New York City and I'd walk, you walk everywhere and you'd smell the pizza, like from the pizzerias. And I
Yeah.
could acknowledge, yeah, it smelled good, but because I hadn't had it in so long, there was nothing in my body like, "Oh my god, I just gotta have a slice." Like, there's not that physical craving because it doesn't know it.
Mhm.
Like, you can smell it, but yeah, it
Right.
smells good, but there's not this coming from here like, "Oh my god, like, just 1 slice, I gotta have 1 slice."
Yeah.
It's you're only gonna crave what you know. Um,
Mhm.
and I think, the big thing, and like we've touched on, is the protein and the essential fatty acid intake for every person, because that's
Mhm.
going to help keep insulin levels more regulated. It keeps you sustained for longer periods of time.
Mhm.
Hence, if you're sustained for longer periods of time, guess what? You're not snacking as much.
Mhm.
And this whole I need to eat something every 2 to 3 hours is just it's insane. It's insane. You
Mhm.
don't. You don't. I mean, that is something too that I think is from I think that's a non-negotiable, 'cause I think it's just programming in most people's minds that then has programmed their body. They're like, I got to eat every 2 hours. Like, you're just if you have to eat every 2 hours when you're eating, you're not eating the right foods. Is it safe to say that, Sarah?
Sure, sure. Yep.
You know, um, because again, any one of us that has, it, I always tell people this: if you can pinch belly fat on you, you're not hungry, because belly fat is energy. When you have cellulite on you, that's energy that your body can burn off at a later
Mhm.
at a later date. So if you're eating every 2 to 3 hours and just piling it on and piling on, pile it on, you're not necessarily hungry. You're not going to be low energy. Your body
Mhm.
can utilize that. Your liver will utilize the story. That's a great. I just did a video on non-alcoholic fatty liver. That's becoming more and more common with people. And guess what? That's due to diet.
Mhm.
So,
Absolutely.
right, and
Yeah.
when you go longer periods of time without food, your liver can use that stored fat as energy. So therefore, you're accomplishing so many powerful things for your body by eating the right things when you're eating, and then going longer periods of time without eating to allow your body. Would you keep pouring gasoline in your car if it was on full? It would just overspill. And that's the
Mhm.
reason why we see this uncontrollable weight gain with people who are yo-yoing. Like, you must burn the fuel off and then replenish with the right fuel.
Mhm.
And definitely go to some of our other older episodes where we touch on that, because
Mhm.
that's obviously a rabbit hole in itself. That's, we've done whole episodes on the quality of food intake and what that should be and what that looks like.
Mhm.
Um, so the other one that is a non-negotiable for me is sun exposure. I think that's something that gets so overlooked from people. And I know it's hard for people that live in certain areas of the world, if you're living in colder climates. But even in colder climates where there's a lot of snow and things like that, say like a place like Colorado, there's a lot of sun there regardless. So,
Mhm.
I mean, there are ways to still get sun exposure. Um, and this whole thing that we've touched on before, this whole sunscreen phenomenon of blocking the
Mhm.
sun. I mean, you know, we can live without food. We can live without even water for days. But sun is essential for life itself. When you think
Mhm.
about it, we would be dead without the sun. So the fact that we're trying to block it, and there's these crazy people trying to block it in the sky, from getting
Yeah.
to us, that should tell you a lot right there in itself,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Um, and there's even an ancient practice called sun gazing too, that I try every now and then. I don't know if you ever played with this, Sarah, but it's pretty cool. It's like, if you're sitting outside, that's another thing. I never wear sunglasses because I don't.
Mhm.
That's another way that you get your
Mhm.
vitamin D, is through your eyes.
Mhm.
Um, and sun gazing is a practice where, if the sun is sitting here, you look here, but you try to be aware of the sun here. So you're not looking at it. And its
Sure.
rays can actually come in that way as well and help. I always tell people, like, if you have weakened eyes, it's a great way to strengthen your eyes. Your eyes
Yep.
become weaker the more you wear sunglasses, right?
Mhm.
Um, but And then, of course, because I'm advocating and trying to coach people more on their fats and their proteins, when those cholesterol levels are up at optimal healthy levels, well, when you go into the sun, what does that do, Sarah?
It's going to break it down. So you need to, your liver's got to start kicking in, but you're going to
Hmm.
start utilizing the cholesterol.
Yeah. And then,
You have
doesn't
to
that
have it.
also help with your body's vitamin D3 production as well? When you have the cholesterol there and you
Absolutely.
go into the sun, it becomes activated. Is that safe to say that?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Cholesterol's, yeah, that's a whole nother topic, but
Hmm.
yes,
Yeah.
the sun
So,
is critical. And you're right, no sunglasses. There's a
yeah.
mechanism that your hits the back of the retina that will tell your body that you're in sun, and it can protect it from getting sunburned. When you put
Hmm.
sunglasses on, that mechanism doesn't hit the back of the retina, and people actually get more burned when they are wearing sunglasses.
Hmm.
That's not to say when you're skiing or you're on a lake or whatever, and
Right.
you're going to be having the sun hit
Right.
your eyes and you don't want to get your eyes sunburned. But I, I hardly ever put on sunglasses. I
Yeah.
mean, it's very, very seldom. And if I put sunglasses on, it's because I'm skiing
Right.
or I'm on the water.
Right.
It's,
Yeah,
so
that
no,
glare,
it's
that
it's
glare is a different
important.
story. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, yeah. And look, we're not saying put coconut oil on and go lay in the sun for 3 hours
No.
from noon to 3. We're not saying that.
Hmm.
I'm not saying
Right.
that. But what I am saying is, yeah, put coconut oil, tallow on your body, things like that, and sit in the sun for 20 minutes, 30 minutes max at lower peak time, and
Hmm.
get as much sun on your skin as possible. Get as naked as you can in the sun. Get as much on your
Yep.
skin. Get as much sunlight on your skin. It's beneficial for your mindset, for your bones,
Hmm.
for your health,
Hmm.
hormones, sleep, circadian rhythm. There's so many benefits to it. Like I said, there's a reason why the sinister people are trying to block it. I'll leave it at
Right. Right.
that.
Right.
um, it's not for our good. I'll just say that. Um, And then the next one is supplementation. And I put supplement, I say that, but I keep that towards, these are not in order of importance, but I always use supplementation as like the last part of a conversation with a client, because so many people, when they reach out to me, that's the first thing that they ask is, what can I take? And I always say that
Mhm.
that's like the pharmaceutical brainwashing, that the impact that it's had on our society is, what can I take? And that falls into that whole magic pill mentality, right? Um,
Mhm.
we need to really be focused on what can I do, and then what can I take is secondary. Because like I say, the word supplement is in addition to, right?
Mhm.
So,
Sure.
and look, the supplement industry is in fact like the Wild West. There's not a lot of great companies out there. There's only a select few,
So true.
right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of
Yeah.
toxic supplements out there, a lot.
Yeah.
Like there's more toxic supplements there are than there are not. Okay. But that's like, again, a person like working with you, Sarah, myself, like we're able to, we know of like the reputable, like there's certifications that supplement, third party testing, GMP certified,
Mhm.
where the ingredients coming from, source. Like if you know, for example, like say vitamin C, like what is it, 98% of vitamin C comes from citric acid, which is genetically engineered if it's not coming from a non-GMO source, say from Switzerland or a place like that. So
Mhm.
knowing all of these things are crucial. But
Mhm.
there are supplements that I do love, like say like I love the NACs, I love the glutathione, the NADs, I love your Cs, your D excuse me, your D3s, and then there are different herbs, adaptogenic herbs that are great for dealing with stress and hormone health. Um, Again, when you're dealing with a cold, oregano oil, colloidal silver,
Mhm.
a black seed oil. I mean, there's a lot of great supplements out there, but really knowing about the sourcing and the quality is crucial, because again, as I
Mhm.
said, the supplement industry is the Wild West when it comes to that. um, I don't know if you have something to add on that.
Yeah, I agree, and I don't just randomly put people on supplements. I'll test their labs, and it will show me what's deficient and what's not deficient. And so I
Hmm.
will supplement patients' deficiencies when needed. And so I don't blindly just put people on stuff to put people on stuff. I have a bag of supplements I carry around everywhere I go. My food source is number one, but I have
Hmm.
things that I'm deficient in, or like I think most people that I've tested are deficient in omegas. I don't.
Hmm.
I used to eat a lot of fish. I don't eat a lot of fish anymore because I understand more of where it's coming from and how tainted our water is. And so I don't, my omega-3s are low. That's a really
Hmm.
important supplement to take if you're low. And so but yeah, ideally I get it through my food.
Yeah, yeah, it's crucial. And like I say to people all the time, if your gut microbiome is whacked out, all you're doing with supplements is producing expensive urine, because
Yeah,
you're not absorbing a lot of this stuff anyway.
sure.
So it all goes back to the diet, right? Trying to get it from food,
Mhm.
repairing the gut lining, having the right
Mhm.
beneficial biome in there, probiotics,
Mhm.
prebiotics. Again, all back to the diet, lifestyle, everything. Um, and then last, but certainly not least, and I think it's the most right up there with the faith aspect of it, is sleep.
Mhm. Yeah.
uh, I think so many of us, including myself, can be guilty at times of not dialing in on our sleep because of work, family life,
Mhm.
etc. Um, I've heard over the years like different health practitioners saying, well, if if you're eating vital and you're full of energy, then your body doesn't require that much sleep. You don't need it. Like you can get by with 2-3 hours a night if it's not affecting you. And I totally disagree with that. I just
Mhm.
think that in order for the body, just like fasting, abstaining from food, where magic happens, that same kind of magic happens when you get deep, adequate, uninterrupted sleep for say 6 to 8 hours.
Mhm.
And and really, I think it's crucial too. I mean, obviously, if you have a job that requires this, it's tough. But people who work midnight shifts,
Oh
even if they're
man.
getting in 6 to 8 hours of sleep, it's still trash in their body, because again, that
Yeah.
circadian rhythm, we are to be dialed in with the moon and the sun in that sense. there's a reason why when the sun goes down, our body starts naturally producing melatonin. That's, we're
Mhm.
getting our bodies saying it's time to go to sleep soon, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
So I really try to drive that home with clients because all of that, that's the simplest thing, I guess, and but it becomes so overlooked for so many people. But when it comes to hormones, brain health, cancer, gut health, recovery from your workouts, your immune system, all paths and roads lead to adequate, deep, uninterrupted sleep. What
Mhm.
would you say about that, Sarah?
Yeah, I can't stress that enough, and I'm guilty at times
Yeah,
of not doing just that, and so, again, nobody's perfect, but
yeah,
I know when I get good sleep, I'm a completely different person. I can tackle the
yeah,
day a lot differently. So, and I've done the night shift. I worked it for almost 10 years. I understand how taxing it is on the body, and it takes years, literally years, to get back into a normal rhythm. And there's probably permanent things that took place while I was, there's no such thing as making up sleep.
yeah,
You can't make it up. So it's super important, and shutting your phone off and your computers off and trying to do it earlier the better. But I am guilty of that. I try to get at least 6 hours, but there's nights where I don't, and I can tell. I mean, I
yeah,
definitely, my immune system's weaker when I'm not sleeping as much, and I end up catching more illnesses, and I'm more stressed out. And so um, it is sleep is up there pretty high on my list of things of importance.
yeah. I'm
It's critical. It's the only way your
I'm
body repairs.
Yeah, I'm not a nice person when I don't sleep. I'm very
Yeah.
on edge. I do not feel good. I always tell people, yeah, I feel dirty. Even if I take a shower, I just feel like, ugh, I just want to crawl out of my skin. Like it's a
Yeah.
horrible feeling to be sleep deprived. I think that's the ultimate way to torture somebody, sleep deprivation, for sure.
I
If you don't
agree.
get adequate sleep, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so those are the 8 pillars that I drive home with each and every person that I work with.
Mhm.
Again, nothing is a one size fits all. Not all 8 are going to apply to every person listening to this, but there are, as I said, there are quite a few in there that I believe are non-negotiable. I think Sarah, I think there are some in there,
Mhm.
probably hearing off of what you said, that there are some non-negotiables in there for you as well.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, so that's the whole fit over pharma philosophy, and it's really about health from the inside out. That's what I am passionate about with every person that I work with. Uh, so many people get it uh, just misfigured when they look at the whole embarking on fitness and wellness. They just get fixated on the outside. And I'm here to tell you that the fitness industry is a lot of smoke and mirrors. I've been in it for a long time. It's a lot of smoke and mirrors. There's a lot of unhealthy practices within that, foods, supplements, ideology, philosophies. There's a lot of unhealthy stuff and all that. There's not a lot of, the only real preventative thing in it is the resistance training itself. But a
Mhm.
lot of the diet and philosophy and supplements, there's no attention to details in that, and that's where you will run into trouble at some point. And that's what I really try to help people with, is to live as fit over pharma as they possibly can. Because at the end of the
Mhm.
day, it's not a pretty place to be when we're under pharma's umbrella. We want to just live fit over it as best as we possibly can. To me, that's the happiest and healthiest way to experience life. And without quality of life, there's not much to it if the quality isn't there. So that's
Right.
something that I feel in my heart, as part of my mission statement for myself and for the world, is let's attain quality over quantity.
Mhm.
Because the quantity is pointless without the quality, so they go hand in hand.
Yeah.
But every single day is an opportunity to build on that. And that's something that I think everyone needs to always remember every day that they wake up, that every day is an opportunity to improve on my health, well-being, my connection to God, how I serve others, how I impact the rest of the world. Every day is an opportunity to do that. But in order to do that, I need to be the best version of myself. And in order to do that, I've got to prioritize these 8 pillars, at least, a good chunk of them, as best as I possibly can.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that is the Fit Over Pharma philosophy. So if you have anything else to add to that, Sarah, with what you're doing with your patients or how it coincides.
It's a perfect combination. It really is, and I 100% agree with all of it. So I'm excited. I'm so grateful that we could talk about what you do and get it
Thank you.
out there. And so if anybody is looking for some help in whatever field, nutrition, exercise, muscle resistance, muscle building, quality of life, reach out to Frank. There's a couple ways, fitoverpharma.com. And then I think we'll have your link on there. So reach out to him. He's amazing. And I recommend him. I couldn't recommend him more. So I'm excited to get people connected with you for sure.
Thank you, Sarah.
So thank
Appreciate
you.
it. And as
Yeah,
always, thanks for your
absolutely.
time, and always a pleasure to speak
Thank
with you.
you.
Thank you.
Yes.
And
God
guys,
bless.
you can check out all of the episodes of the Overstood Human podcast on Spotify, Rumble, YouTube, and X, and whatever platform that you're checking these out on a weekly basis. Please click that subscribe button. That just helps with the algorithm and get the word out.
Yeah.
And as always, it is always our intention to host a Facebook Live on Wednesdays. We don't always get to it, but be sure to always be on the lookout for that as well. Take your questions and just keep spreading this Overstood Human podcast. We appreciate each and every one of you. Sarah, always a pleasure.
As well. Thank you.
Thank you for watching the Overstood Human podcast. Be sure to join in next week. This podcast is for informational purposes only and is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition. Always consult with your physician before starting any exercise program or doing anything contained in this podcast.